Hi, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I have a sped up process for you, illustrating how I came from sketching thumbnails all the way through to a finalised product. You can see me using the thumbnails as a method of warming up and practicing the dynamics of the pose. I tried to frame it in different ways, and so you can see some with rectangles, some with circles in the background, but all in all, they have the same general gist. Thumbnails are something I've only recently started doing. In fact, realistically on traditional mediums, I never used to use them. I'm trying to get better though when I think of overall composition, and thumbnailing is a fantastic resource in order to be able to achieve that. There is something very charming about having all the thumbnails and the rough sketchwork on the left-hand side, and then all of my finalised finished pieces on the right. I like being able to kind of capture that moment in time of conceptualisation to the finished piece. As you can see, the thumbnail sketches aren't taking me very long. They're not really supposed to. They're just designed to help capture the gist of what I'm going for. You don't need to spend too long getting bogged down in drawing all the details on a thumbnail, because ultimately you're going to have to replicate that at a larger scale when you do your final piece. One of the things I draw the most is women. I absolutely love the diversity of body types and builds, and all the different proportions and variations that can be captured within the spectrum. One of the things that I wanted to capture in this image today was a picture of a woman with a sense of motion, grace, momentum, falling, all these kind of more loose and flowing ideas than what I typically end up drawing. I default into very kind of rigid and upright poses, and I'm trying to diversify from that. Whilst browsing one of my favourite sources for inspiration and references, this is Senshi Stock on DeviantArt, I came across this photo. Now, for me, there was something absolutely fascinating about this pose. There is a mixture of kind of subtle squishiness of the muscles and the different perspectives of where you've got features extended towards the viewer, like the hand on our left-hand side versus the knee on the right. It is absolutely undeniable as well that the fact that this image I realised would fit really nicely in my square sketchpad, oh yes, definitely helped sweeten the deal there. The sketchbook that I'm using in this piece is the same one in my previous video. It is a studio sketchbook, it is square, and it is produced by Artway. It is 195mm wide and the paper is 170 GSM. I am still absolutely in love with this sketchbook, and you will see actually it is able to hold quite a lot of ink, and some future pieces that I've already filmed but will edit to show you soon, you can see just how much I put this paper to the test with. So long as you aren't using very wet materials with it, such as watercolour, I think you're going to be absolutely fine with mixed media pieces in this sketchbook. I'll put a link in the description if you're interested to buy one yourself. Just like in my last video, the mechanical pencil that I'm using is the Faber-Castell Apollo 2325 in rose. It is a very nice pencil, and I'm still getting used to how lightweight it is in comparison to my regular one I was using before this. In my last video, I said that I hadn't had a chance to try out the eraser in it, and I feared that the tip of the eraser would actually be too close to the barrel of the pencil. I gave it a try in this piece whilst I was working on it, and I did find that my fears were somewhat accurate. I didn't find it a very comfortable eraser to use, and instead I went back to my Pentel Click eraser. This is a great little tool just for having a little bit of control. It's quite a fine rubber head, so you can get some really clean little bits of erasing done without having to worry that you're going to lift huge portions of the work up, which when you're working on a sketchbook that's quite small like this one, made it really quite helpful. Initially, when I started drawing this picture, I had in mind to draw something angelic with bits of fabric and material kind of wafting off of the centre presence to help really give it that sense of movement. As you can see as I proceed though, it's not actually what I ended up going with. I am a very indecisive artist and I may make many sketches, but when it comes to me inking them, doesn't mean I follow my sketches at all. Which brings me onto a subject I would think actually deserves a good topic of conversation in this video. Mistakes.
Mistakes absolutely well and truly happen, and even the best, most prepared person in the world, I think, would be challenged to create a piece from start to finish without making any form of what they would consider mistakes. Now, of course, in the different parts of your artistic creation and your journey, what you may consider a mistake at one point versus another, and the impact it has on your work, obviously they can vary in size and scale. I made so many mistakes whilst I was working on this picture, but the key thing I want to really kind of draw people's attention to is the mindset that that is okay. It doesn't matter. I'm drawing for myself, I'm drawing for fun, and I was still having plenty of it. One of the things I thought was really quite insightful as well was when I was watching this footage back for the very first time, all those moments that I knew I had made mistakes, suddenly I couldn't capture them all when they happened in the video. I realised that yes, some were quite obvious, and I will leave you to draw your own conclusions about where they were, but other ones that I was really kind of a little bit frustrated with at the time, I didn't notice their impact so massively when I was editing it. I think it's clear that as artists, obviously, we are our worst critics, and it is very easy to get swept up in your mind about what you visualise and what you end up putting down on paper. There is a saying that what you create in your mind's eye is roughly 5 years ahead of your actual ability to produce.
That distance between your ability to actually create what you envision versus your vision itself is something that you will encounter repeatedly on your growth as an artist. So consider this as encouragement if you're only just starting out and you have those frustrations at what you have and want to put down on paper or whatever medium you're choosing, and you're not quite able to do so yet. Keep practicing and you will. That's really what's fundamentally important here. You must practice. Nobody gets better at anything without it. And sure, some people may make things look fairly effortless, and some people are born with a little bit more natural talent than others. I certainly am not one of those individuals. I have been developing this skill for years, and so it's just something that you have to persevere with if you actually want to get better. It's not necessarily the easiest journey in the world, but it is one with measurable results. You can have a look at pieces that you create now, or if you're already on this journey, look at things that you created even just last month and compare it to where you're at now. You will be able to track differences and improvements. This also comes back to where references are your friends. Use them. It is not cheating, okay? You need to be able to reflect on different kinds of anatomy and the way that limbs and muscles interact in order to be able to adapt them to a style. Even if you're saying, oh, well, realism isn't my thing. It's not mine either. But knowing the general proportions and then where to push them really help. So go use those references, okay? Going back to my topic of mistakes for this video, it is really at the point of inking where they really can be quite clearly evidenced. It's okay to call it out for what it is. I did not do a very detailed sketch. I tend to find that if I do a really polished sketch, the amount of pressure I put on myself then to be able to replicate all of the intricacies that I wanted to capture kind of just ruins the fun. I know that I'm probably going to wobble or just make jagged lines that overlap. I know myself quite well. You may not have this problem. I certainly do. I'm normally a digital artist, and so these kind of moments are quite easy to rectify, whether I'm using my transform tools to scale and rotate things, or cropping things out, quite frankly. But this series, I think, I'm going to focus mainly on my traditional because that's what I want to improve. There's also a very different sense of relaxation and excitement and fun all in one kind of contradictory mess when, for me, I do my traditional artwork. Whilst working on this picture, I decided that I wanted a border that would help promote the sense of a direction that she was moving towards. And so, I decided to add an angular blocked out section. It took me a couple of times to get the angle that I wanted correct, but also because I was aware that suddenly there was tangents forming where areas of the image were going to compete for direction, in a sense that it was going to confuse where the eye should look. So I had to keep moving these little lines up and down. It's a little bit finicky, but once you notice it, it was so much better when it was moved. This dress continued to evolve the more I worked on it. I didn't really know when I got started on the picture exactly what kind of detail I wanted it to have, or what kind of sense of fabric even it was made out of. Sometimes that's really useful to keep in mind, but I just decided not to do it. I kept going back and adding more and more details to it, whether it was the little ruffles going along it, the sense that there was a top layer and an underlayer, the belt and the way it kind of cinched the fabric in. It was all just good fun to do on the spot. Now, as I look back, I can't help but think how utterly impractical it would be to be doing whatever the heck it is that she's doing in such a wide dress that can then catch loads of air and swoop out like that. But hey, images don't always have to make a lot of sense, right? While creating the pattern for the dress, I decided that I wanted the viewer's attention to be kind of in the middle of the image, in line roughly with her face. For that reason, there is a centred build-up going across the bust of the image, and then slowly diffuses down and separate outwards, just to help bring everything together. I decided that I wanted two separate patterns, the kind of small dot-based one for the top half, and more larger flower prints for the bottom. I thought it must make it a little bit more visually interesting to have some discrepancies. Something that you will see me doing in this image a lot is actually go around different parts multiple times in different pen thicknesses. Varying the line weights like this is a really easy way of making something pop and give it a sense of life. Typically, I like to go around the perimeter of a character to help make it stand out from the background. It's really good to also do it for bits of the picture that overlap, for instance the knee in front of one leg and the shoulder over the chest. It's also a really nice way of hiding any little mistakes and wobbles you do, because the thicker lines are quite generous. So there's one of my top tips for you. As in my previous video, I wanted to create a contrast between an area of solid black ink and then the white of the paper coming through. I used the same pen as before. This is the Faber-Castell Pitt Artist Pen Big Brush. I do highly recommend it, as I said in my last video, as it is very easy to use to build up big areas of solid black coverage. This is where the paper of the sketchbook as well really holds up. Although there was an ever so slight warp to the paper at the end of it, I was very impressed that it didn't bow or ripple or kind of go lumpy and bumpy like other papers that I've worked on in the past have. While I use this big pen to fill in the black border details, I think it would be a good time to insert a photo of all the materials I use for this piece. Now, you by no means whatsoever have to use materials that I have, it's just in case people were curious. I know when I look at other artists' channels, I'm always curious of what mediums they're using, just in case so I can be aware of what's on the market. You absolutely do not have to use these to create really nice, pretty, beautiful, gorgeous pieces of artwork. Do and use what suits you. In fact, if you have something that you think I might be interested in, please do feel free to share it with me. I would love to have any links to any products that you are really fond of, just so that one day maybe I'll get to try them out as well. I have said before as well, I do plan on doing some form of reviews on this channel, I just haven't got around to filming any yet. What would you want to see filmed first? Pencils? Pens? Let me know. When it came to finalising this image, I decided I wanted to use my silver gel pen in order to help give it just that little bit of a sheen. What can I say? I really do have an inner magpie, and anything that's shiny makes everything infinitely better in my opinion. It is still very early days for me and my YouTube channel, but I do have some exciting information I would like to share, or at least exciting to me. This is going to be the last video I upload with the current setup that I have. In case you didn't know, well, I didn't exactly have the most sophisticated tools in the world when I started. In fact, this footage was filmed using my webcam that was kind of just strapped to the side of a mannequin wooden art doll. It has though become apparent that this is not the best setup because you end up with a bit of a strange angle, and so I have decided to start using my mobile phone to record some footage. I have a mount, I have a light, I am all set up and ready to go, and in fact I have filmed a couple of new videos using this new setup, and I gotta say, now I've gone back to edit this one, the contrast between the quality is amazing. I'm really excited to be able to show them to you. But hey, for now I'm sticking to my goal of uploading one video a week. I've still got to do all the editing for the new footage that I filmed, as well as the voiceover, which is still taking me some time. While I had sped up on doing this, I found that half my audio footage randomly deleted, and I can't find it on my phone or on my PC, which does make me wonder if I just dreamt that I had done it or not. I really do hope that you've enjoyed watching this video, and you haven't got too bored listening to my voice yet. I think filming for YouTube is going to continue to be a lot of fun, so hey, let's keep exploring art together. See you next time!